Us. We're Kevin and Christy, and today we're going to be talking about stocking up on food. If you should, shouldn't, what you do, what you don't do, and yeah.
Our conversation is going to include things like types of food to stock up on, biggest challenges with stocking up on food, and what are some of the reasons why we are stocking up on food or why you might want to.
Excellent. You ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. It's kind of weird. Okay, so we have a computer set up here with the chat box because the last time that we did one of these lives, it was very hard to use the same camera to film the live and to
Respond to questions?
read the chats that were coming in. And so we've got this over here. And so I'm gonna maybe I don't know. I want to try and hide this because it's very distracting.
Slightly. So we've gone over stocking up on food or not stocking up on food a few times, and I'm looking forward to diving into it.
Okay, so just to kind of get started on this, one of the things that we wanted to talk about is what types of food that we are trying to stock up on, that we have stocked up on in the past and whatnot. And I think that there's not a consistent hierarchy that I follow here.
Nope, doesn't look like it.
It's kind of for example, one of the things that I have as a starting point is 6 months of all Costco SKUs
that's a lot of SKUs.
Last a year or more, because it was an easy step forward.
Right, you just do things like almond flour and almond flour crackers and the little bags of sugar, things like that.
Well, and I also looked at it as we don't get we get a decent amount of stuff at Costco, but it's one of those things that we have moved to once a month shopping there, and so it's easier for me to say, okay, well, I can take this times 6, and that's our goal. And it was a really easy kind of target to reach.
Yeah.
It's also one of the places where we started stacking up on food probably a good 10 to 15 years ago. I don't know exactly when we started, but when we did start, it was a lot of stuff from Costco. Yeah. And so it's kind of like it's my comfort spot when it comes to keeping food on hand. And we used to get a lot of our oils and stuff, and that was just really the oils and the peanut butter and all of that. That's something that if I've got those things on hand in a nice orderly fashion on the shelves, it really is a comfort spot for me because it's something that we've always kind of built up and used through the years.
We have our first comment.
Get the knife. Oh boy, vegan prepper, you're no good for us.
So the reason I haven't gotten the knife yet is because it comes out of my personal slush fund, and the amount of money that I pay myself is $50 a month. When all budgets are fulfilled, this is the last thing that gets funded.
I only get $50 a month too.
Yeah, but the complicated part is that whenever something goes wrong, or if I break something, or I say, "Oh, let's do this instead," it comes out of that account right away.
So basically what Kevin's saying is he has no money.
Yeah.
Because I get the same $50.
And you have money?
And I have money.
Yes. But the knife's coming. It's coming. Probably by, if I had to put, I'd say by October. So, what'd you say? No, I know. Others have to see it. We have to be careful too. Yeah. So.
Okay, so, I just thought of something.
Stocking up on knives will be the next live.
I thought of a wild card topic before we jump into our main topics. I want to talk about vegan preppers since you're here and you're kind of in a similar boat of sharing things that you buy. I want to have a quick conversation about sharing our food supply publicly on YouTube, because that is something that
Wait, are you getting ready to justify the knife?
no. I just want to talk about this because I don't know, there's not a right or wrong, and there's certainly not a right or wrong for any specific person. I think that this is totally different across the board, but this is something that we've really talked about and prayed about, because it's something that originally a long time ago I said, we'll never do that. We'll never be someone who shares how we organize our food supply because of the risk that it brings on. And over 10 years ago, God asked us to share our lives. Yeah. And we said no.
No. It's like Jonah in Nineveh. So we decided, yes, and then we talked about sharing our food, and we decided, yeah, and we showed our belly too with that storage disaster.
Well, and that's something that I
totally get that.
I don't love sharing like my disaster, but that's something where like I'm happy that we started sharing our lives now and that we didn't start sharing our lives 10 years ago, because 10 years ago I would have been like, okay, wait, it has to be perfect before we turn on that camera, and we wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
But at this point, I understand and I trust that there is value in the process as opposed to needing to make things perfect before we share things. Yeah. And so we appreciate the I don't know,
the walk,
and we appreciate everybody's interest in the realness of it all. Yeah. So, okay, so
6 months, Costco, take it away.
So from there, another thing that we're trying to do is build up 6 months of protein. So that includes both dairy, so like butter and cheese, as well as meats, including beef, pork, chicken, fish, bacon, and tuna. I think we're there on the tuna.
I'm going to say the bacon's not enough. We need more bacon.
I think we're actually there on the bacon. Yeah. We might not be there for your comfort level, but I think we're there with the bacon. What's going on?
Vegan Bear says, we believe it increases the security of the world at large. The more preparedness we create, the less dangerous it is. We're called, not just for vegans, but for people with food allergies.
Yeah.
And then she says, God wants to help people. We have to trust that he'll keep us safe as we do what he wants.
And that's exactly kind of where we're at, is we have learned that when our decisions are driven by fear, that
they get messy really quick.
It's no good. Yeah. And it doesn't take us anywhere good. And so that's where we're trying to step boldly and courageously and confidently in whatever direction he leads us. So
that's why I can confidently say that I'm not getting the knife right now. Because it'd be foolish.
Okay, so for the meats are hard because we've been experimenting a little bit with pressure canning and getting those, just a little bit. And just really like we're not diving all into anything really. We've learned not to do that. And so
we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. No, we won't. We don't have time for that on this one. We'll do a different video on that. But the meats are hard because my preferred method of storage is frozen, and we have 4 freezers plus 4 refrigerator freezers. Yeah. And it's not even close to enough to get us to 6 months of meat supply.
You don't think I think we got 6 months.
It's the chicken. And so we moved from for a while there we were eating mainly breasts, and we would buy some thighs, but like it was mostly chicken breasts. And we try to make 2 batches of chicken broth a week. So we've moved to just using whole chickens And
we've had 0 chicken this week. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not good. But it seems like whenever we talk about something, it's like it goes out the window. But the whole storing whole chickens in the freezer.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's an upright freezer and whole chickens should be frozen or stored in a chest freezer because that's the most efficient, we think, way. But the way our garage is laid out and everything right now, having a chest freezer in there just complicates it.
And I've thought about the idea of, maybe what if we were to cut them up and like store, like get the whole chicken so that we have the whole thing and then store the breast, but then we still have to store the whole carcasses.
The backs, yeah.
So, and so I don't know.
I think we could just remove the bed in the west wing and put the freezer on that wall.
You know what we need is we just need to get our own chickens. Yeah.
Okay.
One of these days. So then we also, so that's kind of like the 6-month goal that we have. And then we have 12-month goals for
bacon.
Our bulk dry goods. So things like our grains, which include, I was thinking about this. We have quite a variety of grains. For people that are watching, I'm curious, how many different grains do you use? Because we use hard red, hard white, soft white, einkorn, spelt, kamut, and I think that I'm missing some. Those are just the whole grains that we grind. Corn.
Triticale.
Corn. Remember the triticale went up like almost double in price, and crazy. So I canceled that from our order.
Hard red. What about hard white? Oh, right there. What about? Is there a soft red? Is there no soft red?
We don't. I think there might be a soft red, but we don't. Well, and technically we have hard red and we have turkey hard red.
I think we need more hard red because Harbor made those bagels the other day with hard red, and oh man.
Yeah, those were good. Okay, and then we have from there we have our pantry items, which include things like canned items, herbs and spices, nuts and seeds, which I should move that because the nuts and seeds, if we are storing them for longer than a short amount of time, we put them in the freezer. Mm-hmm. Then we've got the oils, and then I've got pasta on here. We actually do a lot of cassava pasta, and we do some einkorn pasta, but brown rice. We do a lot of like grain-free pastas. Mm-hmm. I know the einkorn is not grain-free, but
it's so good though.
It is good.
Then we have
then vinegars, salt, sweeteners, which include
salt's a tricky one because I feel like we should have lots of salt for preserving meats.
Yes.
But I don't know.
Well, and the salt that we get, we still are buying real salt. And I just checked I was thinking about, so Azure used to carry real salt way back when, and they stopped carrying it because real salt, and I dealt with this too when we had All Things Homestead. I was not able to get any sort of a discount from real salt as a wholesale customer. And so Azure was finding that they couldn't get a price break because they were only offering discounts to really big suppliers, which as Azure has grown, I wonder if that's going to open up. Anyway, Golden Organics has real salt, a 25-pound bag for like $74. And if you order it on their website, it's $100. So Golden did not have any in stock last time, but we're going to have to, I'm like, I'll wait for the $25. I think that's worth it. So the sweeteners included sugar, honey, maple syrup, and molasses.
We need more maple syrup.
And then I also have yeast on here. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that although we're storing grains, we're storing beans, and we're storing rice, most of what we are really trying to get that 1-year supply of are things that we use in our everyday cooking. It's not I looked at some of the suggested food supply amounts, because I think that
Bye, vegan prepper.
bye. I think that it's good to be able to have that food storage on hand if we were supposed to, or if we were to hit a emergency type scenario.
Yeah.
But we aren't necessarily to that point to where we know this is what we have in our pantry and
This
or
is
in our
how
food
long.
storage, and this is what we're going to make, not being able to get anything from the store. And this is like, these are the meals that we can make with the things that we have on hand. That's something that we're just not even there. And I think that one of the reasons, I'm going to jump down to this topic and come back up here. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is the reasons why we're keeping a food supply.
Yeah.
And our reasons are probably very different than some other people's reasons. One of the huge things is that we've been self-employed for
Wow.
well, since tech officially, like we've been self-employed before Harvard was born, but we were like strictly self-employed since Harvard was born.
Yeah.
So over 14 years, and we have had a lot of income fluctuations. Kevin does landscaping, and so it can be done year round here in Colorado, but it's also kind of like the mindset of people wanting landscaping done is very seasonal.
Yeah.
And so it's still pretty seasonal work. So we've seen how our stocking up on food has served us in the past.
Yeah.
So many times. Like, we
built,
discounted it.
Yeah, we've built up and gone through our food storage, I think 4, maybe 5 times in the last 15 years.
No, it's been more than that.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't include, because we've also 4 or 5 times because of like financial ups and downs, but we also have like drained it when we would move.
Yeah.
And we've moved a crazy number of times.
It's not that much. So maybe it's more like 10 to 12. But
I think that's what it was.
Being able to kind of take a break from having to buy food for a few weeks when finances are tight is nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. The next reason is just for peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not having to always worry about whether or not you have what you need to make what you want to make. And that's something, obviously, like if you want to make something that you've never made before, and there's something you got to grab, that's different. I'm talking about if we want to go to one of our standard meals that
stir fry,
like
chicken and rice.
I want to know that we got
chicken,
everything
we got rice,
that we need.
We got frozen peppers. Boom.
Yes.
I should just make a stir fry, freeze it, and put it in a bag so I can just plop it in the sink.
While we're talking about this, what our reasons are for keeping a food supply, I would love to know what your reasons are for keeping a food supply, because like I said, I think everybody's reasons are different. Another thing is that we are really just trying hard to build the habit of margin into every single area of our life, because we've learned how devastating it can be when there's no margin in your life, whether it be with your time or your finances or
your marriage,
your food. I mean, it's so like having margin
pillows
it feels so good.
There's an element of peace that comes with margin. And it's not that we're not trusting God, but I do believe that, there's the story of Joseph and the 7-year famine for a reason, I think, to be good stewards of your resources. And I think, we're not taking it to a crazy extreme, but there's plenty.
It might look like a crazy extreme when you account for the number of people.
I don't know.
But yeah.
Maybe.
We're certainly not near 7 years.
This one I like. Can I say this one? Yeah. The reason we're storing up food, we buy less often and save time.
Which
I
is what we're talking about right now.
Going to the grocery store like 4 times a week. It was ridiculous. I'd come home, be like, oh, I forgot something.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to the grocery store. Or it was like every day I was going. I mean, I felt like for a while there, because our money was tight and it was just like, I can only spend $18 at the grocery store today or something like that. It was just not a good season. Yeah.
Well, but even if we're just talking about once a week,
that's still, I feel like that's a lot.
I do too.
I mean, I don't want to sound petty, but it's like you gotta order the groceries, you gotta put the groceries away, you gotta inspect the groceries. I don't know,
or you go a lot of people still go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
You want to do the next one?
Yep.
Too?
And then we buy in bulk to save money, honey.
And this one's huge because we've kind of been working our way towards eating more natural, healthy, pasture raised, raw, organic, whatever you want to call it. It tends to be more expensive food, and it tends to be food that you can't get on sale.
No.
And so we end up spending a lot of money on food. And I've always, for the longest time, I was so frustrated because all of the traditional means of saving money on food was by using coupons. And they didn't have coupons. You can't use coupons for raw milk that you get from a milk share. You can't use coupons for a lot of things.
Chicken, yeah.
And so
Danielle says that's my biggest reason. Acquiring food all the time is so tedious.
it is.
I like to stock up and save time.
Yes.
Good job.
I love it. So then we have our secondary reasons for stocking up on food include the supply fluctuations. We were so blessed by when the COVID stuff hit and there were stock issues. I don't think we ran into a single problem because we had everything that we needed.
I think the biggest, I remember going to the grocery store. There was only one type of eggs for a while, so we had to change what type of eggs we ate, and that was okay for a period of time. I'm happy we have eggs back. Marianne says, my issue is stocking up is space.
Ooh, we're going to get to that in just a minute. That's our next topic is challenges.
Yeah.
I kind of jumped ahead.
You did.
But it just segued really well.
Another secondary reason of stocking up is inflation.
And this is kind of like that added bonus.
I don't know if prices will ever come back down. This might just be the new norm. Christy and I were talking about the other day, oh man, everybody's income's gonna have to go up with the inflation. And I'm hopeful that things are gonna start coming back down a little bit.
So, okay, here I want to say something on this.
I don't know.
Okay, so we've been working towards this real food eating for a really long time. And I remember having this revelation, when we were growing it, when we were farming, and we realized how much it actually cost to raise that food.
Oh yeah.
We were like, everything's so cheap. We are our food system is so broken.
Yeah.
And
you can't buy a dozen of eggs for $3.
You can't you can't produce a dozen eggs for $3.
That's what I meant to say.
And that's the problem, is that our food system is so broken that I actually firmly believe that food prices were too low to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I bet you that their food prices are not going to come down because people are going to realize that if they can get this much for it now, there's no reason to drop it because it's worth that much more. But with that, we really kind of took that as a, with this inflation situation, we are going to do our best to take advantage of the prices that we can get now. Because, and we've been working for this past month on a, like, what we buy in a month video. And part of that video, I am thinking about including some of it might actually end up being a video in itself, because I've been going through our Azure receipts from the past 10 years. And I'm looking at, I just kind of started this project, but so I went back. Actually, I don't have the first 2 years. The first 2 years are on a different email system, and so I don't have those. But I started for 8 years ago, and there are things that have gone up like 300 times or 300%.
Yeah, so there's two that are like 240, 250, and I think there is one that's a little bit higher.
Ginger has actually gone down in price. That was the one, like real fresh ginger has gone down in price over the last 8 years. But so what I'm doing is I'm looking at like how much things have gone up in price until 2020, and then 2020 to 2021 to 2022 to see kind of what that difference has been in there. But it's been very interesting to look into, and it's going to be very fun to share.
Yeah. Mary Ann says, I totally agree with the normal food system is so broken. We just started gardening and did our first Azure order, slowly stocking up with Wish husband and son, his toddler living with us. We're on board. I think
Mary Ann
with husband and son, his toddler living with us.
Yes,
awesome.
Is that who said that? Mary Ann, welcome to Azure. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, inflation, weird stuff. I don't know.
So then our last secondary reason for stocking up on food supply would be emergencies.
If for some reason, like when people hear there's a blizzard, everybody rushes to the store and gets the 5 or 6 things that they know they're going to need for the weekend. And we're just like, let us know. And there's
that peace of mind thing again. That one's good.
Then there was the whole stock supply issue, the cargo ships being stuck in the Panama Canal or whatever. And then the COVID thing, all of these crazy emergencies that had occurred.
The fire that happened at Azure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I'm so happy that we have
oils and some stuff.
And that's something Azure they have had inventory issues that have ebbed and flowed through the years. And we've learned a long time ago that it's really important to have 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say like at minimum 2 months, ideally 6 would be great.
Yeah.
Then obviously, yes, we run into a storage situation because that's a lot of butter to store.
Yes.
So,
good organic transition, babe.
Yeah. Check that out.
Okay, so somebody shared what their biggest challenge is with their food supply.
Mary Ann did.
Which is space. And I'm kind of right there with you. I've got one more that goes ahead of it.
Okay. We did
But wait, I want to know if anybody else who's here live, or if you're watching the replay, you can share in the comments below. I want to know what your biggest challenge is for hitting your ideal food supply. We did do a community post on this a little while ago, and over 50% of the responses said that it was room to store the food.
Yeah.
And then 30% said it was for budget reasons. 10% were overwhelmed with managing it. And there were a few other answers.
That was my answer.
So for us, it was not necessarily an overwhelmed, but I feel like, unless I don't know exactly, like, I feel like before I'm going to buy something, I need to know exactly what we need, and I need to know exactly what we have, and I need to be able to do that math equation to be able to figure out what we should buy. And for the longest time, we didn't have that. And we're still working our way towards that. And I'm talking about right here in the present. I used to have it all really well calculated
Mm-hmm.
a while,
Probably like
while
6 or
ago.
7 kids ago.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it fell off my radar. And I feel like we're totally winging it of we're going to buy this much of this.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was kind of a no-brainer when the maple syrup went on sale and we looked at the price difference between
The quart, the gallon, and the 4-pack.
well, the gallon and the gallon 4-pack on sale price is insanely different. And it was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're not just driven by external forces and sales like that, it feels much better to have a game plan to move forward with.
Yeah. Well, we also started to get kind of creative with where we were storing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we are blessed to have a furnace room that actually has a little bit of square footage to it. And we can fit some storage racks in there. And the extra space for the freezers and an extra closet in the west wing. Maybe 2 closets. We'll see.
Mimi and Papa get no closet
space.
They're gonna love that.
Marianne says the reason for her stocking up as a senior is the peace of mind, hedging against inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, if you don't have storage space, you just have to get creative and look at it from a different angle.
Well, and so what we ended up doing as a quick solution is we took stuff that we do not need to have in our house and we put it in a storage unit. Now, I don't see that as a long-term solution, but it at least bought us some time to have that space for what we felt was important. And then it gives us the ability to go back and revisit that, because getting rid of stuff is not my favorite thing to do. And so it takes a little bit of time and mental energy for me to actually
take something,
sort through stuff and say to let go and to get rid of it. And so I just did not have that mental capacity right now.
There's a name for people
to be able to. Totally a hoarder. It's okay.
Okay.
And then the other big, I guess, holdup can be budget. And the way that we've gotten around that is, like, in a big picture kind of way, we worked towards spending last month's income. Being self-employed, that was a really
big
big
idea.
game changer, because especially when you have people that are slow to pay and you don't get money when you expect money. And I think that having that, like, I know what's here, I know what we can spend for this month, has been really valuable. But then the other part of it would be having our like when I put together our monthly grocery shopping information budget, like, I budget for the month as opposed to the week. And so just moving towards that, I think, has been really helpful. What's going on there?
No, got a couple things. If someone put you down, smile and walk away. Priceless. Yep. Karen says, I'm old and recently relocated to a place where one of my children lives. I didn't move very much, and now I'm restocking supplies, but I'm one more person now learning to shrink down my orders. Yes, money comes and goes, but family and friends are priceless for us.
That is so true. Yeah. And that is why...
Food.
That's why you work a lot less than what you used to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Somebody was just saying it's spring for landscapers and it's crazy busy season right now. And I'm so thankful that I'm not doing that spring crazy. I have to get everything done for everybody because they want it done now.
Yeah.
People wait wait and wait and wait, and they're like, I want my yard done by this date.
Sorry.
Sorry, I can't. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned the weekly monthly purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of times we will stock up when stuff's on sale.
Yes.
That's another budget.
Well, we also have a bulk food money bucket. I guess so. That's another thing is that we do buy our beef and our pork and soon to be our lamb from a local farmer, and
she hooks us up.
She's awesome. But we have a money bucket. Basically, I look at what we're going to buy over the course of a year and then figure out how much money needs to go in each month into that bucket to be able to cover all of those purchases.
I think you need a bigger bucket.
After you started ordering up like 8 lamb and 5 pig and all of that, I'm like, that bucket is not going to fund all that. We need to like quadruple it.
Teamwork goes a long way. Tell them it is what it is. Pay more, done faster, easy money.
Yep.
Supply.
So this is one. Do you want to move into that?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about is what we store that we eat regularly, and sometimes our diet will change and fluctuate with whatever's going on with our life. We did a season where there was no grain, no sugar, no dairy, and that changes the what we pull from, and stocking up on things like that I think is just good to have things as well-rounded as possible. Obviously if we're not eating sugar, that helps just build up the stock.
Well, the problem with the sugar though is when it comes so there's certain things like for preserving methods. I'm thinking of fruits and stuff. It just gets complicated.
Yeah.
Or for like buying condiments like ketchup and like things like that. When you're not eating sugar, it does complicate what you buy. And
when was the last time you bought a thing of ketchup?
I don't know.
It's been a while.
It's been a really long time.
Yeah.
But I guess that with that, we are not held to any sort of dietary restrictions out of necessity. It's all voluntary. And so that's kind of where we do not eat a ton of bread products. Like Harbor's really been enjoying the sourdough stuff, and she does make, I would say, probably anywhere from 2 to 8 items a week of sourdough. And a lot of the time we won't eat it, but sometimes we do. But with our grains, what I did do for this example for like the wheat berries is I calculated what we would actually need if we were consuming grains as part of our primary diet. And with the understanding that if we were to go into any sort of emergency type situation, or inflation were to get even more out of control and we weren't able to afford our normal foods that we eat, that we could use that supply. So we say that like our goal is to stack up based off of what we consume now, but with the caveat that I'm also willing to say, we're going to have extra grains as part of that emergency thing. We stack up on like the raw or the regular white sugar for the bees to feed them. But yet again, that's something that we could break into if necessary, because sugar is a really good investment for things. The milk, the powdered milk that we use for the bath is something that if we needed to use that for like an actual nutrition source, it's a great thing to have on hand. And so again, like this is it all kind of gets taken into account where It's more supporting those secondary reasons as opposed to being our primary reason.
Let's jump into that one.
Okay.
Because that's
fun.
That's a good one. Yeah. What ways are you preparing for the economic instability that's out there?
Other than food.
Other than food. Are you learning new things? I know a lot of people have started learning how to grow food, gardening. We've had gardens on and off over the years and have had some good success, some not good success. We have some raised gardens in the backyard right now that we just started putting stuff in, and we're really looking forward to learning how to grow more food. Number one, because you can control the quality of it and what you want. And number two, it's an element to hedge against the inflation. Yeah.
So some of the things that we have talked about with the garden, and we've got our own bees that we started 2 hives last year. Our 3rd hive
just went in today.
But we've talked about the possibility of doing chickens here. We've talked about that we could do goats here.
Don't think we can do pigs. But that would...
I know. And we have also talked about just doing more of our own preserving and kind of being like just more experimenting so that we have that skill set ready. I don't know. I'm not going to dive too deep into the emergency. One of my things is that if we start talking about the emergency reasons for food supply, then we start talking about water and energy and
predators.
It does get a lot more complicated, and I just go, I'm not feeling like I'm able to come at that from a good place other than like it being like somewhat fear driven, unless there's something that God is really kind of placing on our heart.
Marianne says cash envelopes only spend what is available. Well, that's no fun. And then
we are big fans of Dave Ramsey. We do more of like a
modified
digital cash. I've got digital buckets.
Yeah. And then Jesse says, how about meat rabbits? Yes.
So
I would love to do meat rabbits. I'm just not there yet. Strictly because
they're cute and cuddly.
Yeah, the kids just like that I would end up with like 400 rabbits as pets. Maybe when the youngest kids are a little bit older. I don't know.
I mean, we have raised and butchered plenty of animals, but I don't know. I have a hard time with the rabbits. Yeah. But we have talked about it that it is
this is probably the best place to do rabbits. But here's the thing. We used to have a full-fledged farm, and it's really easy for me to go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and this. And then I have 800 open projects. So we're starting with one thing, with homesteading, and that's the garden. We wanted to start with that.
We did the bees.
Bees and garden. Year. But I think bees are pretty hands off. I mean, they're pretty phenomenal animals. But we're gonna get the garden done. We're gonna get the irrigation done. Get it,
running smoothly,
running good, and all that stuff.
So I know that you didn't want it. I actually said that we weren't going to jump into this.
Saying hi from the Netherlands. Now I wonder if that's Netherlands in Colorado or the actual...
The Netherlands. I think it's
based on the name, I'm going to say yes. I don't know how to say hello, but hello. What did you say?
We've learned not to...
I can do this.
To...
I can do this.
We've learned the very, very hard way. We've learned by losing everything why you don't start too many things at once. And that was a hard lesson, but it is a lesson that I am thankful for.
Because right now, it's so easy for me to go, yes, we're getting chickens, I'm going to do meat chickens, we're going to do rabbits, and I can do goats. Because I don't need a goat shed, really. I don't need a barn.
Poly hut.
I don't need a barn for them.
Nope, we milk them in the garage.
I mean, I could go through
we
all
know
of
how
that.
to do it that way.
And then I can see, growing stuff. So, one thing. And do that one thing well. Once that's done well, we can add on one more thing.
Yes.
And then once that's running well, these are all running good together, then we can add on one more thing.
Yes.
And infrastructure for me is key. I really want to make sure if we're going to invest in animals that they're well cared for. We've talked about being able to have a year's worth of food for them on hand. Mm-hmm. We talked about this the other day. Where are we going to store the food? Like, that's a lot of food.
You need a shed just to
you need a
have
big
the chicken
shed.
Food.
Yeah. And just the other day, a dog from down the street had a chicken in its mouth walking through our front yard. And we just kind of...
Well, there were a number of... Oh, and there were coyotes out over here.
There was an osprey hanging out just up on the thing. Like,
yeah.
We got predators here.
Yeah.
And not just me.
Well,
I mean...
If you want predators, we've got the bear.
We got mountain lion. I mean, we got everything.
So,
it's
the real Netherlands.
Outstanding. Cool.
Oh, all right. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about or say?
I don't think so. Yeah, we're happy to be here and happy to share our journey in all this. You want to ask about whether or not we should share garden stuff? Ask me if they want to see that. No? Okay.
Now you have to.
We were talking the other day if we should include what we're doing for the gardens. If you want to see that, let us know. We can put together, figure out what that looks like. But yeah, we're just super happy to be here and look forward to continuing to share all of this journey.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments if you want to see anything else.
Happy Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. And wait, oh,
Exit.
no.
Yes.